10 years ago, my twin sister, Lily, helped me get a date with the boy I was in love with, then she started dating him herself later, when she was dying of acute leukemia. I was her only perfect match for a bone marrow transplant. The day the final test results came in, I calmly signed the official form to decline the donation. My mother collapsed on the spot. She slapped me so hard the world spun. Chloe, are you insane? That's your sister. My father pointed a shaking finger in my face, his whole body trembling with rage. How did we raise a monster like you? And Ethan Archer, the man whose name filled every page of my high school diaries, asked me in anguish, Chloe, why won't you save her? 10 years later, on the 4th of July, with the sky over the Washington Monument about to burst into a sea of fireworks, Ethan came back at the pinnacle of that national celebration. He held out a diamond ring. Chloe, he said, marry me. The tips of my fingers were ice cold. Ethan was on one knee, surrounded by the roar of the crowd and the flash of 100 cell phone cameras. He wore a tailored black coat that made him look solid and dependable, his features sharp and deep-set. A decade in the service had carved the boyishness from his face, leaving behind a man who was more handsome than I remembered, but the eyes looking up at me held none of the love I had once dreamed of seeing there. There was only the silent, deep water of a calm ocean. Isn't it ironic? 10 years ago, my twin sister, Lily, had squeezed my hand, her own eyes shining as she described this exact scene. Chloe, when Ethan gets back from his deployment, he's going to propose to me right on the National Mall. Everyone will be there to celebrate with us. You have to be my maid of honor. Promise now. She was in the ground, and I was standing here, the reluctant star of her favorite fantasy. My phone vibrated in my pocket. A text from the hospital's surgical unit. Urgent. I steadied myself, pushing aside the hand that held the ring. I have an emergency surgery tonight. Ethan's posture stiffened for a fraction of a second before he smoothed it over. He stood, taking my hand and forcing the ring into my palm. The metal, warm from his skin, dug painfully into my flesh. Chloe, don't do this. His tone was flat, not a request, but a statement, an order. We're getting married. It was Lily's last wish. There it was again. Lily. It was always about Lily. I looked down at the diamond in my hand and let out a soft, bitter laugh. Fine, I'll marry you, Ethan. With that, I turned and pushed my way out of the crowd, leaving the sudden eruption of cheers and astonished murmurs behind me. But the voices followed me, little ghosts nipping at my heels. Oh my god, isn't that Major Ethan Archer, the war hero? He's even hotter in person. Wait, didn't his fiancée die years ago? Who is that? I think that's her sister. Wow, swooping in on your dead sister's fiancé. Classy. It was 3 in the morning when I finally got home. The surgery was a success, but I felt no joy, only a weariness that had settled deep into my bones. I pulled off my scrubs and stared at my pale reflection in the bathroom mirror before dialing my parents' number. Mom, Dad, Ethan and I are getting married. A long, dead silence stretched across the line. Then, my mother's hysterical scream. Chloe, have you no soul? How dare you? When I arrived at my parents' house, the living room was in shambles. A collection of aunts and cousins were gathered, pointing at me the moment I walked in. Ethan followed close behind me. My mother's red-rimmed eyes locked onto him. Ethan, how could you do this to Lily's memory? You promised you would take care of her for the rest of your life. My aunt immediately chimed in. Exactly. Lily's not even cold in her grave, and you two are getting married. What will people say? Think of this family's reputation. Ethan looked at the floor, his voice steady. Ma'am, Mr. Hale. Marrying Chloe is what Lily wanted. It was her last wish. Before she passed, she said she hoped I could take her place and take care of her sister for the rest of my life. And with that single sentence, he nailed me to the cross of selfishness all over again. See, it wasn't him who had a change of heart, nor was it me who stole him away. It was me, the charity case, the broken thing that needed to be taken care of, stepping into the spot that rightfully belonged to my sister. Everyone looked at me with a mixture of pity and disgust.